Hi everyone, welcome to the High Carbon Steel Love channel. My name is Dave and I'm glad that you're here. Today we're going to take an in-detailed look at how I pack and how I use one of my absolute favorite pieces of gear, and that is the Optimus Svea 123R stove. This is a Condor pouch that was recommended highly to me by Dean at the Alberta Bushcrafter channel, and it's perfect. I love it. It has a buckle on the front. First thing you'll see, this is my insulator. This is 2 pieces of cardboard duct taped together with aluminum foil wrapped around it, and I always set the Optimus Svea right on top of this to separate it from the ground or whatever I may be cooking on. This kind of keeps the cold air from riding up through on the Optimus Svea. Inside, this is the Weekend HE, Optimus Weekend HE cook set, I believe it's called. Comes with a stuff sack, and it's a perfect companion for the 123R. So this is what gets your water to boil so quick, this heat exchange system. And being that this works perfectly with the Svea, I usually will carry this setup right here maybe 90% of the time. Inside of the Weekend HE cook set is the stove itself. I keep it in this plastic bag just to create some separation between the stove and whatever cook pot I may be carrying it in. The only other thing I have is a couple of straws. I have a small straw and I have a larger straw. And that's just to draw out the fuel from inside of the canister of the stove to get it all primed up and ready to go. The stove itself comes with this little aluminum cup. It also comes with a little handle that slips right into here, and you can utilize this to cook with. I don't find it the most effective cup to cook with, being that it's so small, it's aluminum. I have baked bannock in it a couple times and it's great for bannock. But as far as what you may be cooking in the woods, this doesn't hold nearly the water that you need. But it does fit perfectly onto this. If you look into here, there's a little slot up top, a couple of them actually. And the handle fits up there. And the cup works as a very nice cover. I found something that's more practical and fits pretty well is this Walmart $5 GI style cup, which does hold a good amount of water. You can cook some soup or some coffee in this thing. And this fits over the Optimus Svea 123R just fine. I've had questions on what can people replace that top cup with that may fit on the Svea stove, and I found this cheap alternative to work really well. This top part's a windscreen. I'm going to take the windscreen off first, set it to the side, and this is what you're left with here. Okay? I will take fuel right out of the canister, and there is a little dimple or a little reservoir, maybe you want to call it, right here on the bottom. I'm going to fill that up and start to prime this bottom part. And that's why you saw in that Condor pouch, I do carry one of these straws. Remove the cap. Operating this stove in the summertime is pretty easy, much easier than to get it going in the wintertime. But that's one of the reasons I like running it on days like this, when it's quite cold, quite breezy, a little more of a challenge. So we're just gonna light that and let it start to warm up, let it start to prime here. When it's cold like it is today, I will prime this probably about 3 times, just to make sure everything's warmed up and we get a nice smooth run once we want to get it going. So that was the first one. I just removed the cap. We're going to go in again and give it our second prime. Okay? And if the fuel spills a little bit around the canister outside of this little reservoir or dimple, don't worry about it. As long as you're in a safe place, that's going to burn off just fine. So prime attempt number 2. I'm just gonna crank this on. Light it up. So on the third attempt, while it's priming, if I light it up, this will start as that burns down, which works out really well. Always make sure to remove your key after you use it too. That gets hot.
Turn it up just a little bit.
And that's starting to go. Now we're gonna thread in the windscreen, thread our key through the windscreen. Make sure that's on there nice. Turn it up a little bit more. While the Svea 123R warms up behind us, we are going to make an omelet in a bag today. This is eggs, cheese, turkey, and onions. And I love this method. However, a quick disclaimer, cooking and eating an omelet in a plastic bag may or may not be good for you. If you want to try this method, you'll want to go do your own research and make your own determination on that. I talked about the Optimus Svea weekend cook set, which I usually carry with the 123R. We don't need that quick of a boil today. That boils very fast due to the heat exchange system on the bottom. We need a little bit slower of a boil because our eggs, our omelet here is going to cook in the water as it heats up and starts to boil. So today we're going to use one of my absolute favorite pots, and this is the Pathfinder Bush Pot. It's a Generation 1, I believe it's called, Bush Pot. I bought this years ago, but I absolutely love this. This side I do some baking on, so you can see that. And I've just cooked on it for years, and I love it. We're gonna boil our water in this. We're gonna throw our omelet in a bag inside of this, and we'll go from there. The Svea 123R is nice and warmed up now. It's got a nice clean roar to it, that classic roar of the Svea 123R. So we're just gonna take our bush pot, which fits on here really well. Then we're gonna take our omelet in a bag, throw it in. Pop the cover on. I just like to make sure, eyeball it, make sure it's even on there, and let it go. I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to see that really well, but we have a nice, clean, solid blue flame underneath of the Pathfinder Bush Pot. Little bit of wind here and there. I don't have a problem with the wind. Sometimes it'll get a little choppy under there and you'll get some yellow flame as it blows around. But this puts out enough power to where I don't need something like an external windscreen like some guys will use. I've always been just fine like this. Sunshine in December. How beautiful is that? Water's boiling inside. Our eggs are hardening up nicely. Our omelet's hardening up nicely. So now I'm just gonna go down to a simmer. And I have you zoomed in to where hopefully you'll see that flame become the simmer. I love the heat control on this stove. Let's see what we got here. Those look pretty good. The bag is still together too. Sometimes the bag breaks open, but I just squeeze the water out and still eat it if that happens. But I think we're in good shape here. The way that I've always been able to tell if an omelet in a bag turns out perfect for me is if it goes right from the plastic bag straight onto the plate. So I'm going to open up our plastic bag. I'm going to grab it by one corner and it should slide out. There we go. Perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. The Svea 123R has a self-cleaning needle inside that comes up through and cleans. So now that we're done, I'm gonna take our bush pot off of the simmer. I'm going to go all the way to the right to turn it off, okay? That turns off the stove. Then all the way to the left is going to bring up that cleaning needle. Then I'm going to go back to the right. I usually do it a couple times, so I'm going to go all the way to the left to clean that. And all the way to the right. And we're done. This method makes perfect omelets for me every time. I can't make an omelet in a pan to save my life. But you can see the turkey, the cheese, soft scramble in there, some onions. Just perfect. You cut into it. Lunch of champions. The Svea 123R cools off nice and quick, especially in this type of weather, and I like that a lot. HE cook set, and take my straw, throw it right in the back pocket. I don't use the hook and loop on the front, that's where I put my insulator. Just right over the top, but then we have a buckle here, so no problem at all. Molly compatible, so I can throw it right on the outside of my backpack, or the way that I usually do it, just throw it right inside my backpack. You all ask great questions, and I hope I was able to answer those questions and provide some information on that Optimus Svea 123R stove. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. Time is our most precious commodity, everyone, and I do not take your time for granted. Not only would I like to thank each and every one of you for joining me here today, but I would also like to thank you for all of your kind words and support over the past year. Happy holiday, and we will talk with you again soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.